And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, a Sacramento area man is facing several felony counts for making a whole bunch of fake 911 calls, but because it's California, he will never see prison.
Of course. The surprising part of this story is that 911 was working.
Calling in bomb threats, not a crime that you actually spend any jail time for.
800-222-5222 is telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, there is a gubernatorial election coming up in the state of California as Gavin Newsom is barred by term limits from running for re-election. The seat will be open and any number of California politicians want it. There was a forum that recently took place among many of the Democratic candidates for governor where they weighed in on any number of issues facing the state, including Prop 36.
This was a forum hosted by United Healthcare Workers, and they had on the stage two of the Tonys, Tony V and Tony Thurmond. The third Tony, Tony Atkins, dropped out. Betty Yee was there. Baccaria Scrub Boy was there. And Katie Porter was there.
Please.
And she is now the front runner. She's been leading in all of the most recent polls. So she is the one I would imagine that the people in the room were paying closest attention to.
And Katie Porter was asked about Medi-Cal for people in the country illegally. She was asked about the fires, about building more housing. But it was the most interesting Q&A part of this for me was when Katie Porter got asked about Prop 36. We haven't really heard how Katie Porter weighed in on Prop 36 because she stayed fairly silent during the campaign of Prop 36.
Well, let's hear what she had to say.
Again, thank you for mentioning Prop 36. That's my next question. California voters resoundingly supported Prop 36 last year, which extends sentences for some thefts and drug offenses. Its passage was largely seen as Californians wanting to reverse course on some progressional criminal justice reform. Please explain your position on Prop 36, and whether you think the Democratic Party has failed to address public concerns about crime. Ms. Porter.
Mr. Villagrosa was incorrect.
Villagrosa? That's not his name.
Well, she's a girl from Iowa, and that's how they pronounce it over there.
Well, it's not a real name anyway, so she doesn't lose any credit for not pronouncing it correctly.
That's true.
Mr. Villagrosa was incorrect because I did support Prop 36 and I did vote for it, and I was...
It's first I've heard of it.
Me too.
She supported it, and she says here on this forum she voted for Prop 36. Are we about to see a new tough on crime? Katie Porter, take no guff. Katie Porter!
Paul! Public.
So did I.
Public.
So did I. So did I.
But I would.
Oh, Baccaria says he voted yes for it too?
Oh, come on. All of these profiles in Courage wouldn't come out before the election and say how they voted. They waited until the election was over and they saw that it was a blowout until they finally came out and said that they voted for it. Give me a break.
They didn't want to piss off Gavin.
But I was also public about the fact that there are very real problems with it and very real shortcomings.
Wait, what?
So I voted for it, but I'm now going to trash it because I'm speaking to a room full of liberals.
I think the response we saw from voters is that they understand that retail crime is real. It affects them. It affects the safety of the workers in those stores and the safety of our communities. But Prop 36, with regard to retail crime, did not focus on prevention, which is...
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. We need to get to the root causes of this, too. Someone call Kamala.
We are clear and have been clear.
How do you prevent retail theft? I guess one way to prevent it is doing what Target did and locking up everything in the store.
How ghetto does it look that they have to lock up the socks?
I don't know what's so philosophical about this. Target has shampoo. The crooks don't. They want it, and they're unwilling to pay for it. So they take it. Period. The end.
But Prop 36, with regard to retail crime, did not focus on prevention, which is the best thing that we need to do, not an approach that incarcerates.
Wait, so then why did she vote yes on Prop 36?
Because she doesn't want a Republican candidate for governor to run on that issue alone and beat her over the head with it because it's popular.
So even though she doesn't support Prop 36, she voted for it for politics.
Yes, she wants it both ways.
I understand people who break the law, there should be punishment, and that punishment should be designed to change their behavior so they do not repeat that crime. That, with regard to Prop 36, though, the prevention piece was missing. And I think the legislature had an opportunity to do that. There were ideas that came from businesses, retailers, large and small, to do that. And I think it's unfortunate we didn't move forward with that instead of Prop 36. The piece of Prop 36 about those with substance use disorders, I disagree with strongly.
That's the whole bill.
What kind of preventative measures should be taken to prevent people from, slam dunking a pot full of hot potatoes on dad's head?
This is a very unique thing that I have not seen. Somebody who's running for governor says, yes, I voted for Prop 36, and then prattles on for 2 minutes talking about how terrible it is.
I'm just surprised she hasn't gotten to the cost of bacon.
The piece of Prop 36 about those with substance use disorders, I disagree with strongly.
That was half the bill.
People who have
Unreal.
substance use disorders have an illness, they have a disease, and they need care. They need care that is driven by data, that is effective at preventing substance use and putting them on the pathway to being healthy.
Well, how about this? If what she's suggesting is that for all of these people with scrambled brains who are living on the street, shooting up, stealing things to feed their habit, if what they need is they need government housing, she lives in a house that we own. How about putting them in there?
Well, and the thing that she is now not being totally fair or accurate about is the fact that Prop 36 mandates a treatment-mandated felony for your third drug arrest. That means that it is about treatment. Now, Gavin won't fund it. The legislature won't fund it. So, yeah, some of those people will probably end up in prison. But she is arguing against every aspect of this bill, yet still voted for it.
No, I think that was the decision that she took. And a lot of people who are in positions of power, whether it be in corporate America or an elected office, they use this as their management philosophy, which is, let's say you have employee A and employee B in a fight with one another because they both want an office. What you do is you give the office to employee A, but then you beat employee A up in the meeting with employee B sitting right there over every possible thing you can so that they get whatever it is that they both want, but they get a tongue lashing too. So it takes some of the sting off employee B for not getting the office. What she's doing here is she's saying, yes, I voted for Prop 36. So she takes that issue off the table if she ends up on the November ballot against Chad Bianco, let's say, who is a county sheriff. But then she spends the entire time trashing it so she can have it both ways.
We have already been down this road across the country of incarcerating people for being ill, for having drug offenses. It doesn't make us safer.
Actually, it did.
And according to what I just heard in the background with that bell going off, the short order cook says the patty melt's ready.
So that's Katie Porter's position on Prop 36. I voted for it, but I hate everything about it, and everyone who supports it is wrong.
How about finding out what one of the Tonys thinks about Prop 36?
Here we go. Somebody that has no chance in this race. State Superintendent Tony Thurmond.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thurmond, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, and also if you think there is anything to Republican allegations that Democrats are soft on crime. Is that a vulnerability for the party and for all the candidates on this stage?
Oh, yeah, that was the original question, which Katie Porter did not answer.
She's good at that.
Let me be clear. I voted no on Prop 36. You shouldn't have to go to jail to get help for substance abuse.
Oh, boy.
And this is the guy in charge of the schools.
I'm a social worker in my career, and I know.
Oh, my God. Are we just filling every job with social workers now?
No, thank you.
I'm a social worker in my career, and I know that we have to have programs like those that I worked with in mental health and using Medi-Cal to help those who didn't have insurance.
Oh, my God.
You know,
let me tell you this. When I spent that month of my life on jury duty and I had to sit there in the most awful place on planet Earth, listening to the most awful things on planet Earth for 30 consecutive days from 9 in the morning until 5 in the evening, of all the people that testified in that trial, and there were a bunch of them, the dumbest one by far, and it wasn't even close, was the social worker. I was originally writing down what people were saying so I could understand the arguments and could reflect back on their arguments when we went to the deliberation room. At a certain point, I just stopped writing down what that woman was saying because all of it was insanity.
As governor, I will continue to work to deconstruct the criminal justice society, just like the legislation I passed to ban private prisons that make money off incarcerating people like the people like us in this room. And so Prop 36 by design was set up to say that if you have a substance abuse issue that you will get treatment in jail. Many of you...
No, it says you get treatment or jail.
And by the way, before this guy became state superintendent, he was an assemblyman from Oakland.
Yep.
Many of you, like me, I go into the jails and work with families and tour the jails, and so many drugs are already in the prison system.
Isn't that an indictment of the state?
Yeah, who's in charge of the prisons, Mr. State Superintendent?
And so we, as governor, yes, I will implement the provisions of Prop 36 that are the law. But here's what I will do differently. I will put more money into treatment for substance abuse programs and diversion.
That's literally what the people who voted on Prop 36 want. Well, they want the treatment. Diversion programs, we've tried that.
It's almost as if he hasn't thought this through.
In diversion programs for those who commit minor crimes. You shouldn't have to spend your whole life in jail for a minor crime that you have committed.
So he subscribes to the Book of Gascon.
Yep.
I believe in accountability.
Of course you do.
I believe in accountability. And I've supported some of the legislation that says we can have more accountability for those who have retail theft. Trust me.
Wait, for those who have what?
And I've supported some of the legislation that says we can have more accountability for those who have retail theft.
Retail theft?
I think he said retail thrift.
For those who have
maybe
retail,
they're stealing from thrift stores.
For those who have retail theft, trust me. In 1 year, I had 2 cars broken into and a car stolen from my driveway. Okay, and I understand the impacts.
Still living in Oakland, huh?
Who's in charge of the government?
But we need...
You know, it's funny. There is just something that's so poetic about elected officials, ones who purposely are trying to make the state more dangerous. Talk about when they've been the victims of crime.
I've been bipped several times.
You know, I know what we're supposed to say. Even though they vote the wrong way, no one deserves to be the victim of a crime. I just wish they would understand the reality that we all live in. Yeah, that's not me. Every time I hear that one of these people is the victim of a crime, I love it. I love it. Because this is the world they produced. And of course you're going to be the victim of a crime eventually if you don't lock any of the criminals up. And if you live in Oakland and you park your car in your driveway, just plan on it every so often. It's going to happen.
But we,
you know, for that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, where they say every time a bell rings, an angel gets their wings. Well, every time one of these idiots opens up their mouth, one of them gets bipped.
But we need to have a system that is preventative. We need to have community police officers and programs like the paid internship programs that I created in Oakland and we're launching in LA this year to give people an opportunity.
Wait, you're going to use Oakland as a backdrop for all of your successes?
Oh, yeah. You were so successful in Oakland that crime has gone way, way, way up.
Oh my God, they melted the basketball court.
How could anyone in that room take this fool seriously?
Most of them aren't.
He's going to be the next one to drop out. And you know what? It couldn't happen to a better guy. Seriously, if you're the one asking him questions, how do you even keep a straight face? If Oakland is the success story for crime.
Well, and if he wants to run on his record as superintendent, here's the guy that said, yes, let's keep the schools closed longer than any other state by far.
What record does this guy think he has that warrants a promotion? You're the state superintendent in a state where no one can read or do basic math. And he thinks he should be governor. Because besides that, his success story is fixing the crime problem in Oakland.
Tony's a little delulu.
Yeah, you think? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. You get the free KABC app. You can get the free KSFO app. There are so many different ways to listen live to our radio stations when we're doing this show from noon to 3, and download all the podcasts to listen to them on your time. If you didn't get a chance to hear it, I highly recommend you listen to the 12 o'clock hour from yesterday and hear us describing the new expose from ABC 7 on Ricardo Lara's Safari.
I may be criticized and dragged through the mud for it and get my wig snatched, as the gay guys say.
All right, let's hear what the candidates had to say about fires.
You want to go Tony V or Katie P?
Let's start with Tony V.
All right, Viragosa.
What is one thing that you feel that you would have done differently if you were governor in response to the rebuild and beyond with the LA fires? Begin with Mr. Viragosa.
The first thing I'd do is collaborate with the city and the county.
That means nothing.
Yeah, they all have phones. They can all contact one another if they want to.
What we need is leadership that understands it takes an entire community to address a crisis like the fire there.
So far, he still hasn't said anything.
If you're not the front runner, you just can't waste your time like this. You have to be on the attack.
When I was mayor of Los Angeles, I provided assets there at that fire. But
wait, what fire?
It was so long ago, he doesn't remember.
You have to be specific. You haven't been mayor in 12 years.
When I was mayor of Los Angeles, I provided assets there at that fire. But that was a fire that, was something that we had never seen before in terms of 100-mile-an-hour winds, both in the Palisades and in the Eaton fire. So the next governor is going to have to address a number of things.
Has he said anything yet?
Not a thing.
High cost of insurance, a California FAIR plan that's not working. We were the only state that wasn't doing catastrophic modeling, the only state that wasn't doing reinsurance, and the only state that took more than a year to address rate hikes when necessary. So as governor, we're going to drive down and take those issues on.
How?
I'll tell you, after the Democrats dumped Grampy Joe after he secured the delegates needed for the nomination, I can't imagine they'd go with this for governor. We're going through the sound of a candidate forum that recently took place with some of the Democratic candidates for governor of California.
Let's hear what Katie Porter had to say if there's anything different she would have done than Gavin on the fires.
Ms. Porter, what is one thing you feel you would have done differently as governor in response to the LA fires?
We didn't know that fire was coming, that those fires were coming, but we knew that wildfire is going to continue to be a risk in California. And we did not learn the lessons of the past fires in terms of building a fire resilience plan and a wildfire fund that was big enough to take care of the damage. There are families still today who are...
Wait, you're talking about the wildfire fund that is the utilities bailout instead of fixing their equipment? We're just going to make sure that we give people money when we burn down their homes?
Yep.
That was big enough to take care of the damage. There are families still today who are fighting, whose homes have been leveled, who lost loved ones in that fire, who are fighting with insurance companies, trying to prove to them the cost of their Tupperware so that they can get reimbursed. So we need to have pushed much harder at the insurance level to have a plan to make sure that we had clear rules about how insurance companies had to compensate families, that we had a wildfire fund that was big enough to withstand the climate risks that we face. We have an insurance commissioner in California, but that does not let anyone in leadership, whether the governor or the legislature, off the hook.
Gavin thinks it does.
And you notice she won't criticize him. He's not doing his job. He's not even in the state half the time. He's globetrotting around the world from five-star hotel to five-star hotel, going to useless conferences so that he can vacation on our dime. And she won't call him out.
For doing the hard work of planning for a disaster and making sure that you are thinking about those who are going to be most vulnerable and the most hurt, and to make sure that they're not going to be stuck almost, 8 months after a fire without a single penny yet from their insurance companies.
Don't want to criticize anybody in charge, but here's all the reasons that things aren't working.
This is what happens in a one-party state. None of them will criticize the others. And if you do, you're like San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, you're cast out. You're voted off the island because you're not playing nice inside the tent.
All right, you want to hear what these candidates have to say about Medi-Cal for people in the country illegally? Because that was the first question in the roundtable.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to give you a choice. Katie Porter, Tony Thurmond, Javier Baccaria, or Betty Yee?
Let's start with Baccaria.
All right, here we go. In case you forgot who this guy was, he worked in the Biden administration, right?
For Secretary of Health and Education Service, I nominated Javier Baccaria.
Mr. Becerra, why don't you take a crack at it?
California's healthcare governor cannot start.
Oh, that's what he calls himself now.
California's healthcare governor?
Yes. He's the healthcare governor.
Yeah, well, I can tell he's not taking his cues from Madison Avenue.
California's healthcare governor cannot start excluding Californians from healthcare coverage. And so every person in this state must be part of the access to healthcare. When your child needs care.
I love, by the way, and you would probably only hear this if you've got headphones on, but as the healthcare governor is talking about his health plan, there's somebody in the background constantly sneezing.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if it's Barbara Ferrer.
Cannot start excluding Californians from healthcare coverage. And so every person in this state must be part of the access to
Bless you.
To healthcare. When your
child, are they doing this from the COVID ward?
When your child needs care, you're going to take your child to see that doctor or go to the hospital, regardless of the cost. And so why would we do it by making these folks wait until it becomes more expensive because the condition becomes worse and they walk in through the emergency room instead of to the primary care physician?
Yeah, but the emergency rooms are packed now.
The people who are paying their bills cannot go to the emergency room because the emergency rooms are full of people who do not belong there. They either have problems that could be fixed in I don't know, urgent care or with their general practitioner, or they shouldn't be in the country in the first place.
We will have a healthcare system that gets to universal coverage for every Californian. That's what a California governor who is focused on healthcare will do. And we will not bend a knee to Donald Trump because he cuts Medicaid, Medi-Cal here in California. We will work together. There is more money spent in the healthcare system in this country than any place in the world. We have the money.
Oh, he's a D-dropper too.
I guess it's contagious.
In the world. We have the money. It just has to go to the providers who provide the care, to the workers that are here who offer that care. So
okay, now you're literally pandering to the union.
So that the patients can get it. And it should not be denied to anyone, because as the son of immigrants, I know what happens when you feel like you're excluded. We will not do that. There is money in the system. We will bring everyone together, but no one will be excluded.
Thank you so much, Mr. Becerra.
You notice, by the way, he has no distinction at all. None between legal and illegal immigrants.
Of course.
Everyone here in California. That's what he said.
They're all Californians.
Let's hear what Betty Yee has to say.
All righty, here we go. Probably the next person to drop out, Betty Yee.
Earlier this year, California faced a $12 billion shortfall. One of the major causes was recently adopted state policies expanding Medi-Cal coverage to all income-eligible immigrants, regardless of residency status. Do you support providing Medi-Cal to undocumented immigrants? And please explain your reasoning. Also, with major federal cuts to Medicaid expected after the 2026 election due to actions by President Trump and the Republican Congress, if elected, what benefits or beneficiaries would you cut from the healthcare program?
That's way too long of a question.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's start with Ms. Yee.
Okay, thank you for the question. With regard to providing Medi-Cal services for all eligible people here in California, including those undocumented, I do support services to the undocumented population. I dare say that if we should ever encounter another public health pandemic, I would want to be sure that every Californian, every person who's here in this state has access to healthcare services. And as we think about the Medi-Cal cuts that are coming down, I think oftentimes we think about overuse of Medi-Cal benefits by those who are eligible for the program, when in fact, and let me just go back to our undocumented population, they do not overuse services in the Medi-Cal program, and that is a myth.
Wait, have you been to an emergency room? I think I told the story on the air. A friend of mine went to an ER in Rancho Mirage, California, a town of 17,000 people. It is one of the wealthier towns in all of California. And they went to an ER late at night, early in the morning, 104-degree fever. And they had to wait there for hours and hours and hours and hours. And he said that he was one of about 3 people there who spoke English. In Rancho Mirage, California. So that means people are coming from all over, and they know that there's an ER in a wealthy neighborhood, and they have to treat you, so let's all show up. Meanwhile, the people who live there can't use it because it's overrun. And she's trying to tell us that that didn't happen.
So we need to look at how we gain greater efficiencies in the program. I'd like to bring back the independent audit of the program because we have not had that authority for a long time, where we can actually look at provider fraud that has been rampant in this program for years, and also look at how we prioritize the services that we are going to be providing in Medi-Cal, particularly being sure that we take care of our safety net providers and those that really are really the most vulnerable among us, children and our seniors.
Why is she still in this race?
I can't figure out if it's going to be her or Tony Thurmond, but those are the next 2 who are going to drop out. My guess is the bell tolls for thee.
Katie Porter, what do you think about Medi-Cal for people in the country illegally?
Ms. Porter, how about hearing your thoughts about this?
California has been down this ugly road before. A time not that long ago in our history when we denied health care to every person living in California. We should not go back. When every person in California is healthier, each of us is also healthier. So I support providing Medi-Cal and health coverage to every single Californian, regardless of their immigration status. If they're here, they're working, they're paying taxes, they're contributing to our community.
What about the ones that aren't?
Again, she sees zero distinction between legal and illegal immigration. She's the problem.
We benefit from having them be healthy, and they can't do that if they can't access health care. These are the people in our churches. These are our people working side by side with us in our workplaces. These are kids in our schools. So we absolutely need them to be healthier. To do that, we need to do what we should have been doing for quite some time, which is tackle the cost overruns in Medi-Cal. If we're going to expand coverage, we need to drive down the cost of care. That means having a leader who is not bought and paid for, a leader who doesn't take corporate donations.
Wait, you're trying this again?
Okay, part of the reason that healthcare costs the fortune that it does, well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. But one of them is you have one person for every 20 that show up who pays. That's part of the problem. And what she's saying is, well, if you just put everyone on Medi-Cal, then at least some portion of that bill will be paid by the taxpayers. So let's jack taxes up on the one person who's actually paying the bill so that they can pay a portion of the healthcare bill for everyone else too. So I don't see how we benefit from that. The other issue is that the universities and colleges where she works cost a fortune. So when these people go to medical school and they graduate and become doctors, they have a ton of college debt that they have to pay off. Well, I guess you could force the universities to stop charging a mint to go there, but then you'd have to pay the professors less. And I don't think she has any interest in that, does she?
A leader who's willing to go toe-to-toe with those who are driving up the cost of health care, making it difficult for us to provide care to everyone who needs and deserves it.
That's what the top candidates had to say on that issue.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Dave in Whittier. Dave, hello.
Yes, sir. And several years ago, the California Democrats, because they knew it was going to cause them to lose seats, tabled the $800 billion universal health care plan in California. Also, Becerra is the creator of the Sanctuary Cities in California, 2016. This would cause a worse doctor shortage in California than we have. And in 2008, a study showed that illegals take out far more than they put in. And also, Doug McIntyre on Ames 790 in 2016 said that every male in California citizen is paying for 9 illegal alien children. They're only doing this for power.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
Did he write down that McIntyre quote?
It sounded like it.
All right, then.
Doug does write a column for the newspaper, so maybe he was reading from that. I don't know.
There you go.
All right. Let's hear what they had to say on homelessness.
All right, let's hear what Katie Porter has to say about the bums.
Okay, moving on to our next topic, homelessness. Melanie.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. A Supreme Court ruling last year gives local governments more authority to impose criminal or civil penalties on homeless people for violations such as sleeping on the sidewalk or public camping. This ruling divided Democrats in the state. Some, like LA Mayor Karen Bass, has said that the ruling will not lead to Los Angeles imposing more penalties as a means to move people off the street.
Because, of course, LA is the pinnacle of homelessness.
And she's the queen of all of that.
Governor Newsom has said that cities and counties no longer have their hands tied and should be more assertive about clearing encampments. Ms. Porter, what do you believe local governments should be doing to address homeless encampments on their streets?
What we need to do is build interim housing so that we have meaningful and appropriate and humane places for people who are currently living on our streets to go. We can do that interim housing rapidly, and we can do it at a very affordable price point. The long-term solution to homelessness is to have more affordable housing.
Oh, God. It's a housing issue?
Yep.
Full stop. But in the short term, the interim housing options that we are seeing in many cities across California at a very reasonable price point are giving people a real choice. These are not shelters.
Define reasonable price point.
You know, she lives in Irvine, which is the closest thing we have in California to a town being the Grove. She is from Iowa originally. She was educated in the Ivy League. She is clueless as to what reality is like for the rest of us.
These are homes. They are places that people can have. They can have privacy. They have a place to be, keep their belongings, and to be safe. Interim housing is really important, and it is basically unfunded right now at the state or federal level. The second thing about homelessness is we cannot continue to spend to help people get off the streets unless we are spending to keep people from becoming homeless in the first place.
Oh, boy.
Which means she wants more subsidies for housing.
You know, in an audit of Measure H in Los Angeles County, it found that years and years and years of rent subsidies to prevent people from becoming homeless had zero impact on the number of homeless.
Well, here's what I'm thinking as I listen to her speak. What she's saying is music to the developers' ears. Because what she's going to do is she's going to raise taxes on us to then turn around and give that money to developers, and then the developers are going to kick it back to her. And if she's leading in the polls and she looks like a sure bet, they're going to come in for her big.
Many people who are homeless suffer from mental health and substance use disorders. That's not why they're homeless. That's because they are homeless.
What?
Okay, so she's one of them too. She thinks they were perfectly functioning people, and then they became homeless due to the high cost of housing, and because they were depressed, that's when they got hooked on the meth.
So we have to prevent people with rapid rehousing programs, with eviction assistance programs, to keep people from becoming homelessness in the first place.
Wait, keep people from becoming homelessness?
She's worse than we thought she was.
She's the front runner, John.
God help us.
I'd like to follow up on that, though. When we're talking about people who have been offered shelter and have turned it down, should civil or criminal penalties be an answer in those circumstances?
I think that's going to depend on what the community has done to provide alternatives.
Not answering the question, are we?
No, that means no. That means that communities will never build enough housing to make her happy, so the bums can stay there forever. We cannot allow this woman to become governor. We can't. All right, we'll have more on this in the coming days. I'm going on vacation, and Randy, you're going to be in the driver's seat.
I'll be here filling in for Johnny from noon to 3 tomorrow. So we'll see you then right here on The John Phillips Show.